Before empath chosen ones awaken, this mysterious pain always finds them. There is a pain that finds us long before we understand who we are. It creeps in silently, like a fog that moves through the forest in the early morning. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare or noise. No, it is subtle, strange, and sometimes even invisible to others. But for those of us who are destined to awaken as empathic chosen ones, it is unmistakably real. Have you ever felt an ache in your chest when someone around you was crying, even if they didn't say a word? Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you had absorbed the heaviness of everyone else's unspoken burdens? That's not imagination. That's the beginning. That's the mysterious pain that always finds us before we know who we truly are. I remember the first time I felt it. I was a child, and I didn't have words for it. I thought I was just too sensitive. That's what the world tells you when you're on this path and don't know it yet. You're too emotional. You overthink everything. You care too much. But what they don't realize is that this sensitivity isn't a flaw, it's a signal. It's the signal that you are being called, not by society, not by any external force, but by your soul. You are being summoned to awaken, and the first message from the universe is pain. Why? Because pain is the only language that cuts through the noise of the world. It's the only thing that makes you pause, reflect, and question everything.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
We often ask, why me? Why am I the one who feels everything so deeply? But maybe the right question is, what is this pain trying to teach me? You see, before the empath chosen ones awaken, life feels like a series of silent battles. You might have grown up in a household where you were the emotional sponge, absorbing the anger, sadness, and anxiety of those around you. You learned to read the room before you learned to read a book. You protected others from their own emotions, even if it meant losing yourself in the process. And yet, no one ever thanked you. No one even noticed. That's the cruelty and the beauty of this journey. It begins in invisibility. Before you shine, you must endure the dark. But here's the truth we rarely speak aloud. This pain is sacred. It is not a punishment. It is the fire that tempers your spirit, the crucible that burns away your illusions. It is the womb of your awakening. And like all births, it is bloody and raw and terrifying, but necessary. So many of us try to escape it. We numb ourselves with distractions, addictions, relationships that drain us, or careers that silence our inner voice. We chase happiness, not realizing that joy without truth is just another form of suffering. And the truth is, we are not like everyone else. We are feelers in a world that worships numbness. We are mirrors in a society that fears its own reflection. And until we accept who we are, the pain will keep finding us. You might be wondering, how do I know if I'm one of them? One of the chosen. Let me ask you something. Have you ever cried over someone else's pain more than your own? Have you ever felt like you didn't belong here? Like Earth was never really your home? Have you ever sensed that there was more to life than what we see? More than what we're told? If you answered yes, then you already know. You don't need confirmation. You feel it in your bones. You feel it in the way you can't unsee suffering, in the way music cuts into your soul, in the way silence sometimes says more than words ever could. But this knowing doesn't come with comfort. It comes with responsibility. It comes with the burden of carrying energy that isn't yours, of healing wounds you didn't create. And that's why the pain is mysterious, because it doesn't make logical sense. It isn't linear. It isn't always traceable. You can be having a perfectly normal day and suddenly feel like you're drowning in sorrow that came out of nowhere. That's because you're tuned in. You're an antenna for frequencies others don't even know exist. And until you learn how to manage that, Life feels like a constant emotional storm. So what can we do? How do we begin to navigate this sacred suffering? First, we must stop running from it. Stop numbing it. Sit with it. Listen to it. Let it speak. Because pain has a voice, and if you listen carefully, it will guide you. It will tell you what needs to be healed, what needs to be released, what needs to be remembered. Second, we must learn to protect our energy, not through walls, but through boundaries. There is a difference. Walls keep everything out, even love. Boundaries allow you to choose what you let in. And third, we must find others like us, because awakening alone is dangerous. It's too easy to think you're crazy, broken, or cursed. But when you find your tribe people who see what you see, feel what you feel, something magical happens. You begin to remember who you are. Let me ask you a question that might change your life. What if the pain you've been trying to escape is the key to your purpose? What if the very thing that makes you feel different is the reason you were born? Would you still run from it? Or would you embrace it, transform it, and let it become your gift to the world? You see, the pain doesn't just find us randomly. It finds us because we are the only ones who can transmute it into light. That is the role of the empath chosen ones. We don't just survive suffering, we alchemize it. We take the darkness and turn it into understanding. We take heartbreak and turn it into compassion. We take chaos and turn it into clarity. But that can only happen if we stop pretending we're normal, if we stop trying to fit into a world that was never designed for souls like ours. And that's why this pain is so mysterious. Because it isn't punishment, it's preparation. Life is not trying to break you, it's trying to open you. The pain is not the enemy, it's the door. And once you walk through it, everything changes. You begin to see the patterns. You begin to hear the whispers. You begin to remember the mission you agreed to before you were even born. Yes, you agreed to this. You chose to come here. You chose to feel it all. And that is not weakness. That is power. That is courage. That is divinity in human form. So if you are in pain right now, emotional, spiritual, or even physical, don't curse it. I'd fear it. Invite it in. Ask it what it came to show you. Because before the empath chosen ones awaken, this mysterious pain always finds them. Not to destroy them, but to awaken them. And if you're feeling it, that means your time is near. Something ancient within you is stirring. Something sacred is calling you back to yourself. The hidden initiation, why empaths are broken before they are reborn. There is a secret that almost no one talks about, not in schools, not in religions, not even in most spiritual circles. And that secret is this: before an empath chosen one awakens to their true power, they must be broken. Not a little, not slightly bruised. No, they must break wide open. Their identity must crumble. Everything they once believed about themselves, about the world, about love, about safety, it all must collapse. Why? Because the soul cannot rise while the ego still rules. And the ego, it clings to illusion. It clings to control. So the universe, in its infinite compassion disguised as chaos, shatters everything that is not real. If you've gone through this, you know what I'm talking about. It starts with subtle discontent. You look around at your life and think, why does none of this feel right anymore? Maybe you used to find joy in your job, your social circle, your routines. But suddenly everything feels empty. You start to feel like a stranger in your own skin, as if the life you've built belongs to someone else. And then the real unraveling begins. You lose things. Relationships fall apart. You get sick. You battle with anxiety or depression so deep it makes you question your entire existence. It feels like you're dying, and in a way you are. But it's not your body that's dying. It's your false identity. It's every mask you wore to survive in a world that never saw the real you. This is the hidden initiation. It's not glamorous. It doesn't come with incense and chanting and sacred robes. No, it comes in the form of heartbreak, betrayal, loss, and isolation. But make no mistake, this is a sacred right. This is the soul's way of saying, you're ready now. It's time to remember. And so the universe strips you of everything that is not aligned with your highest truth. And yes, it hurts like hell. You scream, you beg, you ask, why is this happening to me? But one day, if you stay with it long enough, you'll realize it wasn't happening to you. It was happening for you. You see, chosen ones are not chosen because they are special. They are chosen because they are willing to feel, willing to heal, willing to face the darkness that others run from. And that willingness must be tested. That's why life breaks you, not to punish you, but to see if you'll rise anyway. To see if you'll choose love even after being abandoned. To see if you'll choose truth even when it costs you everything. And when you do, when you choose to stay open in a world that tried to shut you down, that's when the awakening begins. But let me tell you something most people won't. The awakening isn't a single moment. It's not a sudden flash of enlightenment followed by eternal peace. No, it's a process. A painful, beautiful, messy process. You'll wake up one day and feel like you finally understand everything, and the next day, you'll feel like you're back at square one. That's normal. That's how it works, because awakening happens in layers, and each layer requires a new level of surrender, a deeper act of letting go, a more radical kind of trust. And here's something else that might shake you. The pain doesn't fully go away, not forever. Even as you awaken, even as you step into your gifts, the pain still visits, but now it has context. Now, it's not a curse, it's a compass. It tells you when something is off, when your energy is being drained, when you're betraying your truth. You learn to listen to it, not run from it. And in that listening, you gain wisdom, not knowledge, wisdom. The kind that can't be taught in books. The kind that only comes from surviving your own death and choosing to live anyway. So if you're in the fire right now, if you're breaking, if everything is falling apart, good. That means you're in the initiation. That means the veil is lifting. That means the real you is getting ready to step forward. Not the version of you that plays small to make others comfortable. Not the version of you that hides their light for fear of rejection. The real you, the raw, radiant, divine you that came here to shift the frequency of the planet. What if your breakdown is your breakthrough in disguise? What if the pain you're feeling is a sacred invitation to meet yourself at the deepest level? Would you still resist it? Or would you lean in, even if your hands are trembling? Because here's the truth, you cannot become who you truly are until you let go of who you were told to be. And that letting go, it feels like dying. But on the other side of that death is freedom. Real freedom. Soul freedom. The kind that can't be taken from you because it was never given by the world, it was always yours. The sacred curse, why empaths carry the burdens of others before they heal themselves. There's a moment in every empath's journey when they realize they've been carrying more than just their own pain. And that moment is not just painful, it's devastating. Because suddenly, everything makes sense and nothing makes sense all at once. The exhaustion that never goes away. The unexplained sadness. The anxiety that rises in rooms full of people. The way you feel drained after phone calls, visits, or even standing next to someone at the grocery store. It hits you like a thunderbolt. This was never all mine. And yet you carried it anyway. As if it were your sacred duty. And in many ways it was. Because empaths are the emotional alchemists of this world. We don't just feel things, we absorb them, transmute them, and sometimes even suffer through them so others don't have to. Most people walk through life numb, disconnected from their own wounds. But not us. We feel what others refuse to feel. We cry the tears they hold back. We ache in places they blocked out for decades. And while that sounds noble, it's not always a blessing. In fact, for a long time, it feels like a curse. a sacred curse, one that you didn't ask for but somehow always knew was yours. Why does this happen? Why are empaths burdened with the emotional debris of others before they even understand how to handle their own? Because the path of the chosen one is not fair, it's divine. And divinity doesn't follow human logic. It follows soul agreements. And many of us, long before we were born, made a sacred vow to help humanity awaken, not through preaching, not through force, but through presence, through feeling, through becoming the mirror that reflects back what the world is too afraid to see. And to do that, we had to learn what pain was, not from books, from experience, from immersion, from drowning in it until we could breathe underwater. Most empaths spend the first half of their lives lost in other people's emotions. We think we're just sensitive. We think we're broken. We think something is wrong with us because we cry too easily, get overwhelmed too fast, or shut down in crowds. But we're not broken. We're wide open, energetically porous, spiritually exposed. We walk through the world like open channels, and everything flows through us: joy, love, anger, grief, trauma. And unless we learn how to manage that, we get consumed by it. But here's the deeper truth, that overwhelming sensitivity is your superpower in disguise. You were never meant to be numb. You were never meant to just survive. You were meant to feel deeply, radically, fully. Because when you feel that deeply, you understand the human condition in a way others can't. You see beneath the surface. You hear the words people don't say. You recognize the wounds behind the smiles. And that makes you a healer, not because you fix others, but because your presence gives them permission to feel again. Still, we must face an uncomfortable truth. Most empaths try to save others before they learn to save themselves. We give until we're empty. We love until it hurts. We sacrifice our well-being because we confuse compassion with self-abandonment. But you cannot pour healing into the world from a poisoned cup. You cannot hold space for others if you're constantly collapsing inside. And this is the great lesson of the sacred curse. You are not here to carry everyone. You are here to guide them, to inspire them, to reflect their own power back to them. But you are not their savior. That is not your role. So the question becomes, when will you stop bleeding for people who won't even clean their own wounds? When will you put the same energy into your healing that you've put into theirs? When will you stop carrying what was never yours to carry? This is where the initiation deepens. Because healing as an empath isn't just about self-care, it's about energetic sovereignty. It's about learning to discern what's yours and what's not. It's about setting boundaries not out of fear, but out of wisdom. It's about saying no, not because you don't care, but because you finally do about yourself. And that shift, it changes everything. Because the moment you stop trying to save others, you realize you were always meant to awaken them. And you do that by healing yourself first. The sacred curse turns into a sacred blessing the day you choose yourself, not in a selfish way, in a soul-first way. The day you say, I no longer carry the weight of others at the cost of my peace, you begin to reclaim your life, your energy, your purpose. And from that place, you no longer absorb pain, you transform it. You no longer drown in emotion, you surf its waves. You no longer feel like a prisoner of your empathy, you become its master. So I ask you this, what would happen if, just for one day, you focused all your love, all your compassion, all your attention inward? What would you find underneath the burdens you've been carrying for everyone else? Because before you can guide others into the light, you must first walk yourself out of the dark. The awakening flame, when the pain becomes power and the empath becomes the guide. There comes a moment in every empath's journey when the tides shift. A quiet, almost imperceptible transition from victim to vessel, from wounded to wise. It doesn't happen in a grand explosion or a sudden revelation. No, it's more like a soft flame, one that flickers within after you've sat long enough with your darkness, after you've stopped resisting your pain and started listening to it. That's when something ancient awakens inside you. Something not broken, but whole. Something powerful. Something sacred. And that, my friend, is the moment when your pain begins to transform into power. You begin to realize that every ache, every heartbreak, every night you couldn't sleep because you felt too much, it all had a purpose. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. You were learning the terrain of the human soul, not from above it, but from within it. You were walking through fire so that one day you could help others find their way through their own. And now that day is dawning. The empath becomes the guide, not because they have all the answers, but because they've dared to ask the deepest questions and live through the silence that follows. This is the true awakening, not just realizing you're different, but realizing that your difference is your destiny, that your sensitivity is not a burden but a bridge, that your ability to feel so deeply was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to connect you. And now, with new eyes, you see the world differently. You no longer walk into rooms overwhelmed, you walk in aware. You no longer absorb energy unconsciously, you choose what enters your field. You no longer carry people, you walk beside them. And that subtle shift changes everything. You begin to speak differently, not louder, but with more truth. You start to move through the world with a quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need validation because it's rooted in soul. People feel it. They sense it in your presence. They open up around you, not because you're trying to fix them, but because you've become a space where truth feels safe. That is your gift. That is your calling. Not to be everything for everyone, but to be deeply, unapologetically yourself, and let that be the light others find their way by. But don't misunderstand. The journey doesn't end here. Awakening is not a destination. It's a way of being. There will still be days when the weight returns, when the world feels heavy, when your heart aches for people who suffer. But now you know how to hold that pain without becoming it. Now you know how to honor your empathy without losing your identity. Now you understand that healing is not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming whole. You'll still feel deeply. You'll still cry. You'll still care. But now you'll do it from a place of strength, not sacrifice. You'll feel others' pain, but you won't carry it. You'll offer your light, but not at the cost of your own flame. And in doing so, you'll teach others by example, not instruction, that it's possible to be both vulnerable and powerful, soft and strong, feeling and free. So let me leave you with this. You were never meant to stay in the pain. You were meant to walk through it, learn from it, and rise. You were always meant to awaken, and now you are. The mysterious pain that once haunted you has become the very proof of your purpose. You are not broken. You are blooming. You are not lost. You are becoming. And those who are meant to find you on this path, they will. Because now you are the flame. And flames don't chase, they shine. You are the empath. You are the chosen one. And your time is now.